Good night, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Dialogue with the Diaspora. I am your host, Diane Haylock. Our guest tonight is one of Belize's most accomplished musician and composer, especially in the classical genre. He was a star pianist when he was just a child. As a teenager, he wrote, produced, and staged a very successful musical, Mass in Blues, which is a collector's item today. That was only the beginning. He went on to pursue his passion for music abroad and graduated from the Guildhall School of Music and Drama and Moscow Conservatory. He is a piano teacher and concert pianist. In 1994, he was commissioned by the government of Belize to produce a representative compilation of Belizean music. And in 2001, he was awarded an MBE for services to music. In 2006, he was commissioned again to develop a score of music for the 25th anniversary of Belize's independence, and for which he was appointed as an officer of the Order of the British Empire, the second highest ranking order in the awards. He's now a staple in our independence celebration, putting on the most anticipated musical production annually. It is my distinct honor to have as my guest tonight, my friend, the one and only Frankie Reneau, or better known to us as Frankie. Welcome to Dialogue with the Diaspora, Frankie.
Thank you so much.
It's really a pleasure to see you. It's been a while, hasn't it?
It has been a long time.
Yes.
It must be 5 years at least, surely.
Yes, indeed. That was the length of time I was gone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I know.
How are you keeping?
Well, what can I say? In these troubled times, we have to persevere. I think perseverance is the right word.
Yes,
And
indeed.
as an artist and a teacher particularly, one has to be patient, and I have an abundance of that. But long suffering comes into it when you have to do a lot of teaching online, as you can well imagine.
Yeah. How are you coping with the pandemic situation in the UK? We know it's quite troublesome.
Yeah, but it's getting better now. We've gone right to low numbers now, and deaths have gone down to almost nothing. So we are hopeful that we might see the light at the end of the tunnel now. I know Europe seems to have a third wave going on. So I think people are being very careful that, visitors do not come in and change all that. So I think if people are, do the protocols that we've said, I think we might get out of this. And I am hopeful that we do, because I am insistent that I shall be in Belize in the summer, come what may.
Well, it will be wonderful to see you if you're able to do that.
Yes, I hope so. I'm really looking forward to it.
So, Frankie, tell me, something you said earlier makes me understand that perhaps you are still teaching music during these times.
Oh, yes. And yes. I think I consider myself one of the lucky ones, because a lot of professional people have had to stop things, even in the music field, like drummers and, sort of instruments of that kind. It's very difficult to teach that online. However, all my teaching has remained. I had to make very big adjustments to timetables, inevitably, because I teach at home in the evenings, plus I teach in the mornings in a private school. And I also teach on Saturdays at a music school as well, all day. So to fit all that in whilst I'm sitting at home was very difficult. But as I said, I think I consider myself very lucky to still hold a job.
Yes, indeed. One of the first things we like to do on this show is establish people's Belizean roots, their connection with Belize. I am very aware of that connection, but our audience isn't. So situate yourself in Belize for us, Frankie.
I'm not quite sure what the intention of that question is. What do you mean?
Well, tell us about yourself. I mean, I referred to you in our introduction about having been this young Belizean who got into music and did all of that. But in terms of who's your people, as we would say, you know, where do you come from? What part of Belize?
Right. I believe I was born, from my mother's womb in, I don't know if you heard of Nurse C. I'm sure you have. No?
Yes,
No,
of course, of
Oh,
course.
you have, yes. Oh, good. Well, that's where my beginnings were, my very, very early beginnings. Other than that, I was always brought up with my guardian, my mother. You can call her what you like, but Miss Sybil Reyes, who is the only mother perhaps that I did know, and she was a teacher at the Anglican school, St. John's, and so those early beginnings were where I started. Lucky for me, in the home where I was, there was an old piano sitting there, which we were always told not to get, to try and play it. And so always being taken off as a child when I was 3. I don't remember that, but many people do. And it seems that I got on that piano one day and I started playing what they described as a tune. So that was how it all started, my long saga with music. And from there, I was sent to lessons with Miss Floss Casasola, another name that I'm sure you know.
Yes, indeed.
And early mornings, my guardian was a stickler for practice, so I had to get up early. Well, at 3, I think she took me to Miss Floss every morning, or I don't know how many morning. And all I could do at that tender age was just to sit, and she would play something and I would repeat it. And I think that helped me a lot, because I am very good at anything that anyone plays, I can just play it back. So that started me off, and went on, went through primary school, of course, and at St. John's, and then on to St. Michael's College. All of that time I was studying with Miss Floss, and then eventually with Laura Stain, who, as you know, died in a tragic accident, and was the cause, inspiration, if you can put it like that, for writing Mass and Blues, which was dedicated to her. After all that's finished, Albert Stain, her husband, who was alive, of course, and he suggested that I should go to the same school that Laura Stain had been, which was the Guildhall. So you can see all these connections. Very odd how that all happened. And that's how it happened. I went to the scholarship to the Guildhall School of Music, and that's how everything started off. I at first was not quite sure why I was there. I just did music to enjoy it. I didn't realize there was a whole process behind studying the art.
You didn't think of it then as a career or anything like that? Nothing was going on in your head that said, this is what I want to do as my job down the road, or anything like that?
Not really. You just did what you were told, as you know, in those days. So I was sent there, and what was quite miraculous was that after 1 year, I did know what I wanted to be then. It was absolutely wonderful. I enjoyed it so much, and I made swift progress with my teacher, James Gibb, there. And that set me on the road to pursuing a career as a pianist.
Frankie, I want you to take me back to Mass and Blues. You know, you wrote, you produced, and staged it when you were just a teenager. I mean, how did that come about? How did you manage to take on such a huge project?
You know, it's very, very strange. It's like many things that you do, you look back and then wonder how it all happened. And I suppose in some ways the word to use, I was inspired. I had never actually composed properly. I could always sit at the piano and make things up. But this was something very particular. And actually, it was my guardian, Miss Reyes. She is the one that sort of said, you should write something to that lady, your teacher. And I thought about it. And then I also had some inspiration along the way, because I had the group, the Mission Singers. And we were just singing in church, for services and so on. But we also used to go to the districts and do with guitars and things, and do folk songs and things of that nature. And we were also sent to Michigan on a, oh no, sorry, not Michigan, Western New York. That's the first place we went, and to a sister diocese there, and eventually to Michigan as well. And in that time, I heard someone come on and sing something, an Our Father, which really I thought was so extraordinary. So when I was asked to write something, that came into my mind immediately. And I think that's how I actually started writing it. That led on to the songs, which are on the other side of the album, which were all a sort of reflective on what the tragic event that had happened was, how I was dealing with it. And of course, the first song was very sort of escapist and saying that it was better that she had died because she's living in a better world and so on. And then the second song was a song called Why, which was questioning, why did this have to happen? Those very words came into that song. And then there was a final sort of resignation, saying, using a prayer, help me accept the things I cannot change. And then on the other side of the album was, of course, the actual mass per se, which was easy because the words were already there. And all I had to do was provide the music. And I think, again, I was being used, if you like, by the Almighty or whatever sources of inspiration you care to say, because I also found myself using different styles, and particularly in The Lamb of God, a sort of not ranchero, but a sort of Mexican, I think, cowboys and Indians song style. And that was very weird in a sense for someone of my tender years to be incorporating into a song. Oh, Lamb of God. Lamb of God. So those things happened in such a wonderful way. I look back now and I really feel I was guided by that. I don't think that happened purely on my own abilities, and who knows though.
Indeed. Frankie, an album was actually produced, the young people probably are not very familiar with this long playing record that we are very, very familiar with,
yes.
But when you started, was the intention to actually produce the LP?
I think not. No. What happened was that once we had it done, now this is a very, I'm forced to think carefully. I think the LP started, Mr. Stain, that's it, had, I can't remember his name, the other person who actually did it from New York.
Edison,
I'm sure you know.
Maybe
Who?
Edison Stain, maybe?
No, not him. No, I meant Albert Stain. He was the one that suggested all that. And then the curious, well, what happened, because we went to Michigan to record it, and we were told, because it was a very tight budget, we had to perform it all straight away. No second takes. So that was quite a feat. And we recorded it in a barn somewhere. So expenses and so on. So that's what happened there. But no, I don't think that was not the intention at all. It came out of its popularity, I think, once we had done it at the Bliss. I think it went on for a whole week or 5 days anyhow. And it was sold out, and it was quite wonderful. Those were days to cherish, remember.
Yes, that is really a masterpiece. Yeah. Yeah. Frankie, how old were you exactly? I mean, we talked about you being a teenager at the time. How old were you?
I was 16.
You were 16, yeah.
Yes. I was just coming to London to study.
Okay, so you left Belize right after that at the age of 16?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was turning 17, I have to say. 16 going on 17.
17. You could actually sing that one, right?
That's the one, yes. Yes, no intention.
And so you went on, you got yourself educated, you fell in love with music, then becoming your
Yes.
your career, but you stayed in the UK, yeah?
Yes, but I came home. I wanted to come home the first year, but my aunt said, no, stay. And maybe it was a very good thing she said, very wise. Of course, when I did go home, I didn't want to stay at home because I was so excited about what I was learning and what I had learned that I wanted to come back to England. So that was a big change for me.
So tell us a bit about how that career in the UK unfolded.
Well, the course that I was on was called the associate course, which was mainly for pianists who wanted to be concert pianists, as opposed to graduates who did more of the brain stuff. And I had an extraordinarily good teacher, James Gibb was his name, and I was so lucky to get him. He was a real human being and taught me a lot about life apart from just music. And I think in my first year I was feeling, well, I didn't even know words like technique when he said, we'll have to improve your technique. I said, what's that? Which just shows that I was just a person natural who could play, but didn't know what the actual processes were that were involved in the making of a true artist. And so, well, I was good at this because I didn't know anything. I was humble enough to just listen to what he said and did exactly what he said. And after a year, I was doing some really good things and people were noticing it in the school, and I won competitions and prizes and so on. And that's how it all started. And second year, of course, was more of that. Plus, I was then playing sort of piano concertos with orchestra. And so going from strength to strength, you might say. And in my final year, I had to do a proper recital. And I also won a very important competition in that year in 70-something. I can't remember. Better not use the numbers. And so I won that competition. Then, as a result of that, I was given, one of the prizes was to give my debut concert at the Wigmore Hall, which is very well-known, very esteemed place, concert hall. And I did that and had very, very glowing reviews. And it all started, it was quite alive, very exciting times for me. And then I had a scholarship two years later to go and study in Russia. I don't know if you want me to talk about that straight away.
Yes, please.
Yes, I will. That was another experience on all kinds of levels. It was, of course, at a time when it's still run by the communist leaders then.
That was still the USSR.
Yes, exactly,
yes.
Exactly, yes. And so lots of things came into play. First of all, I didn't know the language, and what they do is to put you in a hostel with a roommate who is Russian in order that they would help you to learn it as well. Of course, most of the time I was quite happy because the Russians wanted to learn English, so I didn't have to talk too much Russian. But inevitably, we had 2 or 3 lessons per week, 2 or 3 hours long learning Russian. And it was obviously a necessity because my teachers spoke only in Russian. And there was this awful scenario, quite comical, where every time the teacher spoke, I pulled out my small pocket dictionary and gave it to him, and he'd point to a word. So you can imagine how long those lessons went on for. But in the end, the best way to learn, obviously, is to mix with people, and you learn. And obvious things like your food. That's one of the first things you learn about. So because you need that. And that was pleasant enough at the start. For the first year, I didn't get very far, I don't think. But I did have some extraordinarily good teachers, particularly one called Neuhaus, Neuhaus, Negaus Paruski in Russian. And he was an amazing musician. And it was on a level that I hadn't actually experienced. So I learned quite a lot being in Russia. On the other hand, I have to say, I don't really talk about this very often, but it was a time when I had problems with my arm because I had been playing quite a lot in England, and I had played an extremely difficult concerto, Rachmaninoff's third concerto, which I played very well, if I may say so myself. But the next day, a strange thing happened because my hands kept falling off the piano, my right hand, that is. And I just couldn't understand. It seemed like all the music had been drained from me and I had nothing to offer, either physically or emotionally. And that was, you might say, a kind of musical breakdown that went on. And I had never actually recovered totally from that experience. And people have said it's a neurological thing. And I had all kinds of acupuncture. I went to all kinds of doctors. No one could really put their finger on it. And in time, it was me that had to find my way out of that mess, as it were, and come to grips. And again, another helped me accept things I cannot change. But indeed, I did try to change it, and I made many startling discoveries about myself during that period. The problem with things like that is that when something goes wrong, you adapt. As you know, if you were hurting a leg or something, you walk on the other leg more, and consequently, you give the other leg more problems. So it was a difficult problem for me to uncoil all the other things that I had done to make up for the original problem. Suffice to say that I am at a point in my life where I am quite happy with what I am doing now. And if you like, I am returning to not where I left off, because I learned a lot in the process. And one good thing that came out of it was that I became much more, not insular, but introspective, in that I learned a lot about myself. I started writing poems, and inevitably I composed a lot more. So I think the point was that I am one of those artists that, as the phrase says, delight in the felicity of expression. And I have to express myself. And one way or the other, I did it, either through composition or through poetry, through whatever. But I found a way out of the mire. Yeah. And I'm still doing all that right now.
But Frankie, why classical music in the first place? Because I mean, I know that you have gone on to compose in other traditions, you know. Yeah. Yes.
Well, it's strange because classical music is what I understand best. It's a language for me. I speak that language very well. I know what to do with sound. Sound is what I deal with. Sound. I mean, popular music, in a sense, is fine and it's all very good. But for me, it's not lasting enough. These are things that are, I suppose, like maybe literature as well. You can have other books written by lesser writers, if you want to call them that, who express something which is equally entertaining, but other people, the classics and things, write in such a way that you just sit and you listen to the beauty of language. So for me, classical music represents that far more than other genres, to me. That's my experience. And of course, I like all music, because anything that is a sound, I can understand. So don't get me wrong. It's just that appealed more to my sense, and the scope of emotions in classical music is far more than anything else. You can be grand, you can be misery, it can be sorrow, it can be happiness, it can be any of these great emotions that we all have. And I think classical music best expresses them. And of course, obviously, you need a good person, a good pianist in this sense, or musician, to make get the message across. So that's also important. You can have classical players who are very boring. So that's not a very good sign. Okay.
We need to take a short break here, Frankie. So viewers, we'll take a first ad break for the evening, and we'll be right back to continue our conversation with our very special guest, Frankie Reneau. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Dialogue with the Diaspora. Tonight I'm catching up with accomplished Belizean musician and composer Frankie Reneau. Frankie, It started in the 90s when you were first invited to compile and compose music for our independence celebration. This has now become an annual tradition. What does this inclusion in our independence celebrations mean to you?
Well, as you say, it started quite some time now, and it gave me a chance actually to express myself quite differently, as I think you know. The performances, a lot of them that we have been doing, are all to do with the more popular side of music, and which I love too, particularly the Motown era. And I think you must have heard that we've done several things like that. And it also gave me a chance to work with Belizean talent, of which we have quite a lot. And the singers that are so wonderful. So the actual independence celebrations are obviously responsible for me coming to Belize every year. And well, that's not the only reason, as you know, but it's one of the primary things that I look forward to. And I spend sometimes, I go and teach usually in Switzerland on a few weeks in the half term. And I sit in my hotel room and get everything ready so that I can because once I start doing teaching, there's hardly any time to write anything or to do any kind of arrangements for the singers. So that is a period of my time that I look forward to. And of course, the 2 years have gone now, or almost, without having any opportunity to do so. But I look forward to coming back. I don't know what's going to happen this year. I believe I may have a rest from everything and see the country for the first time.
Yeah, one of the things that I am very familiar with from having worked with you is that I mean, apart from the composition, the shows that you've produced, I know an important part of your trip back is to actually teach music to young Belizean musicians. I mean, I know for a fact that you were doing these master classes on an annual basis. Talk to us a bit about that.
Yes, that was a highlight of my coming back. That's how it all started, as you know. And I do like work. Well, teaching is a wonderful art. I always remember my piano teacher saying that teaching teaches, wonderful words of wisdom. But absolutely very true in that simplistic remark, because it actually, it kind of reinforces what you do and why you do it. Not that you know, when you're a pianist, you just do things. I mean, you've learned your art and you express yourself. But for me, it was particularly meaningful because at the time when my problems with my arm were happening, I could actually see how, through my students that I had to teach, certain things that I need to sort of just look at back again, sort of going back to basics, if you like. So in that sense, it was helpful. And of course, it was nice to sort of to see children and a few adults as well, of course, who were interested in trying to improve their art, who didn't know very much about the next level, if you like. And so I think I was very helpful to sort of, to throw light on where they should go next and what it entailed.
So in some ways, helping them to move on to that next level.
That's very important because I think sometimes we stay, in one place, and like many students in Belize, perhaps who, yes, they do the grades and things, which we all do, grade 1 to 8 and so on. But the whole idea of passing an exam is not totally to do with the artistry and the creativity that good performances demand. So I was obviously careful not to overstep because there's only so much you can do at that level. And it wasn't, if I wasn't teaching people who are pianists already, who are usually the type of people, you would have in a master class who were quite capable. But for these young ones just starting out on their career, well, on their learning of music, you want them to enjoy what they do. So you know, there were aspects of music I could show them and to talk about what the music had to say, the mood of the music, and different devices, technical devices that could be used to create the communication which they wanted to give.
And thinking of what next for themselves in some ways, beyond simply completing those different grades.
Exactly.
Yes?
That can be you have to strike a fine balance, because otherwise it gets a bit silly. Passing grades is only a small bit of the cake, as it were.
I recall vividly, Frankie, the We Are Belize celebration in honor of our 25th anniversary as an independent country. This collaboration of so many Belizean artists and technicians under your guidance. This took the production to a whole nother level. And in fact, I think it was a very proud moment for the musicians as well as for the Belizean audience.
And it would be wonderful if it could be done again.
Take us down that memory lane there.
Yes, that was a huge work. Again, with most of these things, I just begin with a small something or other, and then you just move to the next and move to the next. There were many occasions when things that I wrote, you know, I was writing 2 or 3 or 4 songs, and they began to sound like the same song. Sort of, not totally, but I had to throw things away and start again and throw things away. And but of course, being in the moment was important, and therefore it didn't bother me at all. I just knew that I had to create something that I could be proud of and that people would enjoy as well. So that whole thing had so many different aspects to it, as you know. One of my favorites, rather, being the quartet, where with Ted Burrows and all these old guys talking about Mother, how I love Mother. I remember her well.
And she asks me again, oh, how I love Mother.
The song about cod liver oil, I'm sure you're not cod liver oil, what am I saying? Worm oil, or oh my, as we used to say. Those songs were very, very, very novel in a way, and I think the whole idea is not so much what the song was, but the actual idea of creativity, to create something that was different, which came across in those songs. And of course, I did a kind of a piano concerto with the orchestra as well, using all the talent that we had there. And that was something quite different. Then we got the players to do that wonderful Gary Funas song. That was amazing too. And there were so many things on that album that were really, 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 really good. It's such a pity that we can't do things again. I mean, over here, we're in big countries, as you know. You play a symphony by Beethoven or something, you can hear another performance of it. It doesn't mean that once you played it's dead. And we don't do things like that in Belize. I did the Mass and Blues, as you know. I repeated it.
Yes.
And I changed a few things, and that went down very well. That was quite good. So I think it's time for another performance of that.
But I think what is fascinating about it is that, yes, you come from this classical tradition, but in your productions in Belize, you were able to be very versatile in the shows that you did. Was Was it just adapting to the Belize audience, or was this
No,
something
that's
that
in
you...
no, that's in my blood. That's where I came from. So what I have done is adapted to classical music, if you like. I don't think when I was in Belize, I liked things and I was playing things, but I don't think I was a classical player in that sense. I just could play what I see in front of me, and I enjoyed it because I understood the ideas behind the composer's work and the emotions involved. But no, I think essentially I am who I am, and that is in my blood. People have said to me that they didn't believe that I wrote some words, which I did write, I have to say, in one of the songs about policeman kept car the policeman. That song, the 1 o'clock Sunday morning.
Yes.
You know that song?
Yes, 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 yes. That was
so
on.
well.
That was on Celebration, though. No?
Oh, I'm getting
That was Celebration. Yes, of course.
I've written so many things that I've forgotten what they are.
and Thief.
Thief. That's it.
Yes.
So, but when you're coming back to what you were saying, that those things are really already inside me. So I could just pluck them out from somewhere, so that I could add variety as well to the musical composition.
Frankie, when you're not teaching music, what do you do to enjoy life?
At one time, it used to be badminton. I've given that up right now. I'm not fond of running about so much. But although I don't know, it's cinema, lots of dinners. That's perhaps very bad for me, and good red wine, of course. But I think social meeting with people, that's more up my street. I can't say that I do anything that's really different. In Belize, of course, it would be fishing, because that's the greatest love of my life.
Actually,
but I
fishing.
Can't do that here.
Yes.
Eh?
Yes. Well, I mean, I know that you have this great love for Are Belize. I mean, I know how much you enjoy when you are actually able to be home. I mean, I
Yes.
see how it is with you when you're actually here. Yeah.
Yes, and that's the feeling that I've never got rid of. Not
Yes.
that I want you to understand, but it's something that pervades my whole character. There are times when I am teaching, and if something exciting has happened, I burst out into Creole. I mean, how can I put it? And of course, the poor student looks around and said, "Pardon."
So yeah, sorry.
That shows I am, as I say, I am intrinsically a Belizean, and who can do all the things that other people do.
Indeed.
And nothing's wrong with that at all.
Right, to the bone, huh?
Yes.
Yes. So what's next for you, Frankie? I mean, apart from coming home when you're able to.
Well, I've been since one of the good points of the COVID has given me more time for myself, and I've been writing. And I've written a huge work for orchestra and solo soprano and tenor and a choir as well. It's called My Country. And again, another theme, I always want to do things that are to do with Belize rather than writing any sort of, great work for the world or for England or anything like that, because I understand that best. And anyway, this is the classical work, but it's tremendous. I think it's very good. I hope everyone will think so in the end. And it's based on the national anthem. So I've taken out the words to me that matter a lot. You know, the land of the free. I have it written down here in case I forgot. A land of the free by the Caribbean Sea. And of course, the bit that says the blood of our sires which hallowed the sod. And then brought freedom from slavery. Then the second theme is nature has blessed you with wealth untold. And then I have another theme, another area called Tranquil Haven. And then the last bit is Arise Ye Sons, which is the wonderful rousing chorus in the anthem. and I have done things with it as well, because I almost picture, if you like, the slaves and the people who had to defend at St. George's Quay, and the pain that they, and anguish, and not sorrow, the fear that they had of what might unfold and what their destinies were all going to be. So that comes into the middle of this era of Rise Ye Sun. It's almost like an opera.
So post COVID, with any luck, we ought to be able to see this production done
very greatly. Yes, because this is something that I think is rooted in the soul of Belize. The music that I have written is. Obviously, you can't say it's Belizean music. It has nothing to do with that. But what it has to do with is to portray, well, from my point of view, the great love I have for the country, and I think it will be appreciated by all.
My final question has to do with some words of wisdom that you might have for young, talented Belizean artists who are trying to figure out how to pursue their dream of becoming a professional musician.
Well, I think the first thing that stands out is that you must love what you want to do. There's no point, I don't think, in just doing it and see where it leads you. I think you need that energy that you get from actually being excited about something and wanting to do it. It must move you. Music is something that's very particular. It has to be something that you feel very strongly for. And of course, then you have to decide your instrument or whatever it is that you're playing and what you want to do. I think if you sit down thinking about, will I make any money from this? Where will I go from that? Obviously, these are important questions which also have to be addressed. But I think the musician that wants to be a musician will always choose the pursuit of excellence in that field rather than thinking too much about, what will happen personally to his life if he pursues it. Most people, when they're growing up, their parents tell them, do not touch music because you will not make any money. And maybe it may well be true, but the actual peace of mind and the pleasure that you get from doing it far outweighs.
Well, imagine what a world would be like if many artists in the different fields listened to their parents and didn't pursue.
Yes, with all good respect to parents, of course.
Yes, of course.
So I think that's the highlight. And then, of course, the other thing that has to come with all that love for your profession is the necessity of great endeavor. You can't sit around, you've got to work to achieve something. And that's the thing sometimes that people get lost in. And, the almighty practicing that we always talk about. That is the word, because no practice, no results. It's as simple as that. And I think what people fail, or young students fail to understand, is that once you start doing this regular practicing, even if it's a little, the regularity of it suddenly makes you able to do things. And when you suddenly can do things, you want to do more. And that's how it continues. So good work is important, or regular work, I should say, regular practicing is important if you're going to pursue a field in music.
Frankie, this has been an absolute pleasure for me chatting with you tonight. You are truly an inspiration, and we're very proud of your accomplishments, and we look forward to your next musical production in Belize.
Yes, and me too. And thank you so much for having me.
Yes, please stay safe and healthy.
Yes, and you. I'm looking forward to seeing you.
See you sometime soon.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Viewers, we'll take our final ad break and be right back. thank you for staying tuned in to Dialogue with the Diaspora. Talented Belizeans all over the world have been thrilling arenas with their athletic abilities, dazzling galleries with their magical art, and like our legendary Frankie Reneau, filling music halls with heavenly melodies that force the soul to dance. We are a special people. Our shared experiences and history give us a natural advantage to tell colorful stories through different media forms and remind us that success can be found beyond the academic fields. Art is a subject that we should continue to encourage our young minds to pursue, if the passion is there. There are career opportunities in the art, and they become more plentiful when one is passionate, committed, and supported by family and friends. Frankie is an inspiration to us all, and we hope he is to you as well. I thoroughly enjoyed tonight's show, and it's time to say goodbye, but only for tonight, because we will be back again next Thursday at 7 p.m. right here on CBTV and on Facebook on Colorblind's page. Do enjoy the remainder of your night. Continue to social distance, wear your face mask, and remain vigilant. Good night, and take good care.